What's up, everybody? Thank you once again for listening to and supporting the Pohada podcast. This is a show where we talk about Jiu-Jitsu with Jiu-Jitsu people, very often black belts. This time around, it's little old me talking about the 3 milestones you have to hit before you're even allowed to think about quitting Jiu-Jitsu. But before we jump into it, the usual shout out to my beloved Hamel Jiu-Jitsu, where I roll once or twice a week. They even let me teach some classes. The kids program's growing. Adult program's growing. Gi and no gi are both growing. If you're out on the west end of the Twin Cities, check us out. Might be what you're looking for. And of course, a second shout out to Salt Electrolytes. The ultimate electrolyte blend that meets your body's needs, contains only the best real ingredients, and has real perfect fruit flavor. Team Mango here. No sugars, no dyes, no BS. Use code PORRADA, PORRADA at checkout for 15% at www.saltelectrolytes.com. And without too much further ado, there are these 3 milestones you have to hit before you can think about quitting Jiu-Jitsu. You thought about trying Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. You considered how cool it would be to be good at it. What a cool skill set. You studied up on local academies, you picked one, and now you are, quote-unquote, doing Jiu-Jitsu. And part of what that means is sometimes you feel like you're drowning. Okay, you always feel like you're drowning, but sometimes you really hate it. Okay, you always feel like you're drowning and you hate it every single time. What I'm saying is you're realizing that the pitch you got from your jiu-jitsu buddy about how awesome it is to dominate another person also included the phrase, though you didn't really hear it at the time, once you've weathered the storm and learned how to swim. The positives, amazing. The results, amazing. The skills sound so cool, but the price tag in their sales pitch is often not large enough, bright enough, or bold enough. The truth is, like with anything, there's a gigantic and often short-lived novelty period. Everything you do in your first few weeks or months of jiu-jitsu is new, it's mind-blowing, and it's wildly effective against your know-nothing and willing training partner, that is. But the live goes become a bigger and bigger part of practice. You start to stray from essentials class, showing up to advanced class, and you begin rolling, and nothing works. Everyone is better than you. The novelty is gone. The positive feedback feels well outweighed by the negative feedback. It turns out this pursuit might be a lot like that dusty guitar sitting in your den, or that unfinished movie script, or that sketch pad with so many clean white pages in it. You're thinking about quitting, aren't you? And that's where you're wrong, you dumbass. You didn't realize there were requirements before having a thought like that. That's a shame. I bet a lot of people have given up on jiu-jitsu before considering these 3 mandatory milestones. Number 1, the first big and real aha moment of jiu-jitsu is when you find your first technique. Finally something from class is sticking in your brain. You've managed to see it, and when it's available. For me, this was half guard, and not locking people in half guard, establishing grips, off-balancing them, and then hitting cool sweeps. Far from it. No. Flailing in a panic as yet another smaller rolling partner tries to run around me to get to my back. Flailing enough to finally barely grab a hold of a leg with my legs and establish a guard. Still just surviving, still just showing up and making it through, but doing so with a guard. Later came the grips and the sweeps. Ultimately, this was my first milestone in pattern recognition in jiu-jitsu, which is what it is, right? But really appreciating that comes later on. For now, I want you to get your first thing, something to hold on to and eventually to build off of. You're not qualified for quitting yet. 2 more milestones to go. Number 2. Part of the usual pitch for jiu-jitsu as a lifelong practice and a viable approach to self-defense is the live sparring. the rolling. A person skilled in jiu-jitsu is most often, verified as such. The techniques practiced on a willing partner are tested in live rolls against live and varied resistance. That's the short answer to the difference between a jiu-jitsu black belt and an insert most other martial arts black belts. And in this process, you're going to have your first experience of dominating another person. And not a week 2 noob, but someone you've seen in class for a while. Maybe they've got a few stripes and they're building some skills of their own. But about halfway through a roll, it's going to dawn on you that they've got nothing for you. You've officially weathered the storm and learned some jiu-jitsu. You've learned to swim a little and completely dominated an opponent. You're new to this, they're new to this, but whatever, it's working. Even if the next 5 rolls today will be the same hellishness that make you reconsider this whole jiu-jitsu thing, it still stands. You're still not allowed to think about quitting, not just yet. Even if the high of dominance feels life-changing and the low of then getting dominated again feels insurmountable, you're not allowed to consider quitting yet. Number 3. You get a purple belt. The short version of this is you get a white belt for signing up, you get a blue belt for showing up, and you get a purple belt for glowing up. That's why it's such a fabulous color. You started shabby, slow, and unskilled. You squeezed hard, you saw red, but you ultimately gave up and got smashed. But you kept showing up, bro. You kept practicing, kept trying to move and react. You picked up plenty of gold nuggets. You expanded on your first thing with grips, with control, with off-balancing and sweeps, even finding that you could see likely submission opportunities off of that sweep. This leads to dominating a rolling partner, then another, then more and more successful rolls with the whites and with the blacks. You've got a game now. You can see what everyone was talking about now. You can see what the new people are looking and hoping for. And you're starting to see why the black belts you know will never fess up to being good at jiu-jitsu, despite seemingly toying with most of the people in the room. You recognize that the ocean is filled with aha moments, with training partners who are getting better and better, and you realize how wildly elite being a purple belt in jiu-jitsu makes you in the world's population. Now, and only now, are you allowed to think about quitting? Let me tie it back to the examples I used at the beginning of this. If you insisted on being able to play and play well home on the range before subjugating your guitar to room decor, wouldn't you be that much closer to playing Master of Puppets? If you would have actually read, after buying the book, 21 Days to How to Write a Movie in, and actually followed the process, actually written the script, wouldn't your understanding of that process be that much better? And how good at drawing would you be if you just said, I'm going to fill this sketchbook before I think about quitting? I'm going to fill the whole book. The bottom line is, keep doing the thing until you're so good that you would never consider quitting. The only people I know who quit once they made it to purple belt, for instance, are people who had life circumstances come up. Things happen. Life is what it is. But they knew good and well, one, what the deal was with the skill set of jiu-jitsu. And they know good and well, two, how capable they are in jiu-jitsu. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning into and supporting the Pohada Podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you're not following along on the YouTube channel or on Instagram or Facebook, the tag is exactly what you would think it is to find it, at the Pohada Podcast. If you have topics you'd like to hear me or a guest cover, feel free to reach out via DMs. That same thing goes if there's a guest you'd like to hear on the show. If you'd like to throw a tip in the jar, there is a Patreon, patreon.com/thepohada podcast. At some point, sooner or later, there'll be a regular, meaningful comment on there as well. And once again, you got to try out Salt Electrolytes. I do get a few pennies when you use my code PORRADA, but mostly it gets you 15% off, saves you a few bucks. Thanks for listening.